Welcome everyone to our very special Lead the Field Elite panel discussion today. I've invited some of my Lead the Field students to share with you some of their insights and learnings of being a student of Thinking into Results for a number of years now, and why they made the decision to move into the new Lead the Field coaching. I'm so grateful that you've made the decision to be here today. You're going to get a lot of value from this call. I think it's always powerful to hear somebody else share their story and somebody else share their insights around how they learn, why they learn, what kind of results they've accomplished. Because, you know, I always come back to Neville Goddard, and he says, you know, to be transformed, the whole basis of transformation must consist from new ideas. And so if we're not surrounding ourselves with new ideas, we have no capacity to grow, to really expand our level of awareness and create that next transformation. And so on today's call, you're going to hear new ideas. You're going to hear people share stories of what they have accomplished, their decision-making process, their attitude towards their own personal and professional growth. And I can guarantee by the end of today's call, you will know exactly what you need to do to move forward in the accomplishment of your goals. So I'm very grateful that you're here and you've tuned in today. I want to start by welcoming our panelists to today's call. Unfortunately, Byron had to send his apologies at the last minute. He got called in to do a job. And I want to acknowledge that Rachel, Kelly, Sarah and Byron, you know, they're generously making this time available to you to get on this call today and to share some of their insights and experiences with you. So thank you very much. So I want to introduce Kelly Bethel. Kelly is, I'm going to unmute Kelly, and hopefully you can switch your camera on for this discussion as well, Kelly, if that's feasible. So welcome, Kelly. Thank you very much for joining us on today's call. Kelly lives up in far north Queensland near Georgetown, and her husband run a cattle property. She's got a very interesting, fascinating story of even that business and its transformation. So I don't know how much of that we'll get into today, but if you have an opportunity to chat to Kelly, I'd recommend that you do. So welcome, Kelly. In fact, I was going back through some of my notes, and Kelly first enrolled in Thinking into Results on the 21st of November 2016. So well over 2 years now. Seems like longer than that, Kelly, but it hasn't been. I guess that feels like a lifetime of work or things that you've made happen. So it's great. And then Kelly moved into the new Lead the Field coaching in January or early February 2018. So has been a part of that community for the past 12 months as well. We also have Rachel Dunn joining us today. I've just unmuted you there, Rachel and Kelly. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Hopefully, if it's feasible to put your video on as well, we'd love to see you on today's call. I want to welcome Rachel. Rachel and her partner Michael Hull run a company called Girl Director, the Girl Director Academy, and really teach people how to use video to transform their businesses and grow their businesses through the medium of video. So Rachel and Michael enrolled in Thinking into Results on the 25th of October 2016, so also been around the community for a couple of years, and enrolled in the new Lead the Field coaching in May. It was around about May 2018. So been involved in the Lead the Field program for well over 6-7 months now as well. So welcome, Rachel. Thank you for being with us today.
Great, thanks.
And we also have Sarah Bascom sitting in as a panelist for us today. Just going to go and find Sarah. Hello, Sarah. She's on camera.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. So welcome, Sarah. Thank you for joining us today. Sarah and I met, so Sarah's also been in the program for a while, the 7th of February 2017. So nearly a couple of years for you as well, Sarah. So great to have you here. Sarah and her husband run a or Bascom Auto Ag, so selling and servicing very large machinery on the Eyre Peninsula in South Australia. Sarah is a serious student, as all of our students, all of our panelists are, but had been studying Bob Proctor for quite a long time before she happened to come to an event in the little town of Cummins on the Eyre Peninsula and had no idea really who I was or that there was any connection to Bob Proctor, and basically enrolled straight away. And Sarah has done Thinking Into Results, she's done the new Lead the Field coaching, and she's also done Power Up on the Gold Coast, which Rachel and Michael have also done as well. So Byron, unfortunately, has also done all 3 programs, but he couldn't make it today. So thank you very much, Sarah, for joining us on today's call.
Pleasure.
And Kelly's on camera now, which is great. We've got Kelly. And also, I just want to acknowledge, I'm not sure if she's on the line, but Lisa Taylor was hopefully going to join us just as a guest today. But I also want to acknowledge that Lisa has also studied the new Lead the Field coaching, and in fact studied both of them, both Thinking Into Results and Lead the Field at the same time. Lisa's got a phenomenal story. She went back and forwards for 12 months, even making the decision to start Thinking Into Results. She made the committed decision, she got herself started, and maybe 2 to 3 months into Thinking Into Results, she also enrolled in the new Lead the Field coaching program and studied them both at the same time. So she's not on the panel today, but I think she's listening in on the background. So I also want to acknowledge you here today as well, Lisa. So let's get into it, ladies. I thought a great way to start today's call would be to talk about some study habits. This is a question that I get asked all the time. How do you study, Karen? Or what's the most effective way to study? And I thought I would put it out to the 3 of you to share how you start your day. How do you set yourself up for a successful day, Kelly Bethel?
Yeah, that is a really good question, and I often get asked that. And I think that it's important to not acknowledge that everybody falls off the wagon. It's the fact that you get back on is really, really important. So I guess I don't probably call it study habits now. It's just my routine. That's what I do. So I have my list, like my little booklet that we get from, I think it was Power Up or whatever, like that's got my 6 objectives of the day. And that's what I try and stick to, and that will have mainly my gratitude on there. That's what I've really put a big focus on because that's what I was missing. And then walking. When I first joined TIR and Lead the Field, I would put my headphones on. There was no music, no nothing, and Bob Proctor was in my ears the whole time I walked. And so when I first was in TIR, I was training for a wheelbarrow race in, which is kind of weird, but yes, we trained for a wheelbarrow race to push a wheelbarrow 160 Ks or something. So Bob was in my ears, and it was amazing when what you needed most came out and it rang true. So it's so powerful in that way. So that's kind of my study, I guess you could say, is early in the morning and get in, get it done, and it seems to set you up for the rest of the day.
I love it. That's great. Great advice, Kelly. Rachel Dunn, what do you do? How do you set yourself up for a successful day?
So I have actually just shifted a recent paradigm in exercising because I was one of the people that just worked all the time and didn't exercise. So now what I do is I get up around 6 o'clock in the morning because Michael, my partner, is writing a book. So he's up at 5:30 every day writing. And I get up and I go for a drive to the beach and I think about the people that I'm grateful for. And I send love to a bunch of people and I put Bob and the Lead the Field on and I'm walking. But I also use that time because I know 7 minutes to the beach, 7 minutes away, it's probably going to give me a lot of a lesson. So I will think of the lesson, and driving time is really good for me to digest the content. And I just listen to Lead the Field at the moment in my headphones and in the car because I I just feel that the repetition is what's going to cement the new idea. And I find that every single time I'm listening to it, there will be, I'm like, surely I've got this bit before. So my study habits are drive to the beach, listen to Bob in the car, and on the way back, think about the things I'm grateful for. Also visualize how I want that day to roll out. What are the most important things to achieve in that day? Get in the car, listen to Bob on the way back, and then I've got my 6 things laid out. And I have my goal card on my desk. I have thinking into result or TIR books on my desk, so I can always refer to through the whole day.
That's great. That's awesome. I love how it's so easy to combine. It's just so easy to do it in conjunction with your life, right? You just do it at the beach, do it in the car, wherever. Sarah Bascom, how do you study? What's your morning look like?
Well, to beat the children up, I wake at 5:30 and I do Bob's abundance meditation, because I kind of feel that I'm in that sort of semi-sleep state where you can really tap into some of that. And then I visualize my goals. Like straight after that, I just lay there, and because I'm working on the will and imagination at the moment. Mm-hmm. So really just trying to capture that quiet darkness. Everybody's asleep and I'm doing that. And then I get up and I'll watch whatever lesson I'm on currently, like with TIR, because I do study them side by side. And I just find that what Sand and Bob have done in pulling out the foundations of TIR out of Lead the Field, like Earl had just weaved them in there just so beautifully, that it's having that TIR as that foundation first. You just get so much more out of Lead the Field. So I do that. And then I'll do my daily writing. So I write my goal out, which obviously I've done some visualization on that prior, and then my paradigm shift that I'm working on. And then another area is my self-image. I'm really trying to tap right into that. And so I'll go through my script. So it's quite a long process, but I really like that time in the morning. I feel like I have a part of the day nobody else gets. Yeah. And it's very precious to me. And then sometimes if I've got up late for whatever reason, like sometimes you might fall asleep or whatever, we've got horses, so I go out, and again, the walking is, it's scientifically proven that you learn through movement. So it kind of helps, especially with kids, like getting them to move and listen and learn and sing and do all of that will actually get in more. So the walking is another thing. Like Bob is on no matter what. I'll, Lead the Field, a TIR lesson. So that's definitely part of it. And then of an evening, so that's how I start my day. But I do after I come back in and I get ready for work or for my day, I'll read the self-image script in the mirror. That's good. Because I feel that once I'm ready and dressed for the day, I feel more powerful. I feel more empowered and like I can do it, rather than half in my pajamas with my hair up messy. And yeah, so that's sort of how I like to kick my day off.
I love that. I think that's so great. We could do an entire call just on how different people study. Yeah. Thank you so much. Even I have a few new ideas there. I would agree with you. I've started to get up even earlier than I did before, because I was finding that I was needing to rush a little bit, or I was missing things off that were really important to me to do in the morning with my study, and I just made the decision that I'll just get up earlier. And so I have a whole hour and a half in the morning for anyone else in the house should be awake. Yeah. It doesn't always work like that. For me to just have my time to set me right for the day. So thank you. I would like to now discuss some of the most significant shifts you've made in your time studying with me, and how other people can do the same. So Rachel Dunn, would you start off with that? What are some of the...
Sure. Yeah. So I think mindset is just having the tools to be able to shift the money mindset. And I find that because I did a lot of coaching with different people and grew, but I didn't realize the sabotaging thoughts that was stopping my growth. So I think that just by having the tools and being able to work on that constantly, the shifts that we've been able to make have been able to double the business. And we were looking at doubling it again this year. So and understanding the terror barrier for us was really huge, because it helps us to be able to share with our clients how they can also, being in front of the camera, what happens, and being able to explain it, and on that level has just been massive. So just being able, that one lesson has been such a valuable investment in helping our clients understand what happens in front of the camera when they show up. So for our own business, it's been absolutely amazing, and is something I just love studying and will continue to study, because it's just so much depth, and you present it in such a way that, and you're just always there showing new pieces of the material and new parts, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing. So it's phenomenal with our relationship, with how we manage things, just knowing when the terror barrier is here, being able to then use the tools to be able to step through it, and just the goals all through both programs is phenomenal. So
it's so good, so good. Kelly, what about you? I mean, so much has transformed in your life. What would be some of the most significant shifts you've made, and any pieces of advice for other people listening to this?
I think that self-image always comes up. I think that seems to be quite a common paradigm for so many people. You don't come across too many people that have a amazing self-image. So that has been a big shift for me, and realizing that you are deserving, you are good enough, you are, you know, just as good as anybody else, so long as you're willing to put in the work for it. Another one was researching the things that I wanted to put an effort into, like going and doing the homework, instead of just, I was one of those people that would just wing it through anything. Just, yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Well, that will only get you so far, and it was only getting me so far. So now, through that, I'm about to release an app. Who would have thought I would be sitting on a cattle station going to release an app? So that has been a huge shift in me, creating the multiple sources of income. That was always a big dream, but then you come back to that paradigm of, you know, just take one thing and do it well, and all that sort of stuff. So shifting those paradigms, and geez, they come up anywhere and everywhere, but recognizing it and be willing to move forward. So and I think you get addicted to the terror barrier. I think, yeah, I remember reading that in TIR and even skipping forward. I was like, I want to know what this terror barrier is like. And
that's so true. So true.
So being able to deal with that, recognize it, and it gets bigger. You think you've had a terror barrier when you first start. Well, it's nothing compared to when you start dreaming bigger.
Yeah.
And, oh, geez, I thought this was going to be kind of the same as the first terror barrier, but it isn't. So, yeah.
That's great. I love what you said about, you know, the paradigm tells you to just do one thing well. But I love when you've got this foundation, you don't have to just do one thing well. You can do a number of things really well, you know, and that's a new idea for most people. All right. I love it, Kelly. What about you, Sarah? What's been some of the most significant breakthroughs for you?
Definitely self-image.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can remember, Karen, back at the start, you would never have heard from me on a webinar call. I never put my hand up. I never went on a Zoom because of the camera thing. Like, and just in the last, I suppose, 6 months, I've shifted so much, and I think it's just, you don't realise how shut down you've been, you know, sometimes, and it's so powerful. And it's only just like when you said you know, you're just scratching the surface, you know, back, kind of think, oh yeah, but the more you get into it, the more you realize, you know, you have your breakthroughs, but far out, there's just so much more I can grow. And then you do, like you said, you'll get addicted to the growth, and it's so true. And then also you'll get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I can remember very early on getting extremely uncomfortable, and I think there was a few words that came up, and Karen, you were in front of those. I'm like, far out, I don't want to be in this situation. If this is what it's going to be like, I'm out. But it was sort of like we had burnt the boat we were in, and it was, and you find your way through. And so just knowing that you have those tools now and what goes on in your body and how it is expressed through your body, I think, and how anxiety is suppressed too. But whereas I never realised that on I never kind of got that. But at the same time, like a bubble that has to come to the surface, it has to come out some way. And so it'll show up in all sorts of other ways, like in being, you know, getting frustrated and angry and all of that. It doesn't just come out as staying quiet. So getting that awareness around how that anxiety shows up then gives me the tools to go, oh, hang on a minute, this is the paradigm's really kicking in here, and I've got to redirect this. So but definitely self-image is a huge part of my significant growth to date.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. I think if I look back personally as well, even just understanding the concept of self-image and psycho-cybernetics, and there's two self-images. I mean, even just that blew my mind the first time, you know, I started to study it. And I think for me, to kind of segue into the new Lead the Field coaching, that's probably one of the really significant things when I started to study it myself, that I just found that it caused me to look at who I was and what I was doing from a totally different point of view that I had never considered before. And it really caused me to look at my self-image differently and look at who I was becoming. And I was still really holding myself back in terms of what I could create. Did you feel that, Sarah, when you got into the Lead the Field, that it just really, so much of it is about self-image? Like, why did you decide to move into the new Lead the Field coaching?
Well, coming off the back of Power Up, it was just, I don't know, it was just like, I had this desire for more of this material, and I wanted to study more of it. And then coming off the back of Power Up, and I just thought I wanted to work more closely with you again and you brought up that program, and it was just about, you know, and getting into it, it is just so much deeper. And I think until you're there, it's hard to explain. You know, obviously I'm still, you know, relatively new into this. I mean, when you look at how long Bob's been studying it for, sort of, just an embryo. But it's like TIR's the foundation, and then Lead the Field fills in all of the other space. Like it just, the walls and the insulation and the furniture and the, like, you know, if you think of it in terms of a house, there's just so much more than that. Yeah. So that's kind of how I view it. And definitely like the lesson 8, what you're worth, that really hits me. That taps into me so much. And, you know, the question of, if you met you, would you like you? That if you really consider that question, it really kind of gets right in deep as to how you view yourself, because it's easy for us to kind of just brush over it and go, oh yeah, I think I'm okay. But yeah, just being vulnerable and allowing yourself to have that growth. And
so would you say, in terms of if you can think back to when you were studying TIR and then you made the decision to, obviously you did power up in the middle of that, but then you went in to lead the field, and you look at who you are now, what would you say, I mean, if you could, would be one or two things that really kind of shocked you or that facilitated a quantum leap in your life as a result of TIR? Like, what was it? Because I know when I studied it, or I've done it a few times now, like how it really resonated with me, but what was it about the program that enabled you to shift in your awareness?
A big thing was, I guess when I first started TIR, I felt really lost, like I was not in a good place. So that helped me move, gain a bit more confidence and direction, which was great. And then lesson 2, greener pastures, I think was just the most incredible lesson. And then also the concept of realising that you don't actually have to change vocation in order to go where you want, and that was a relief for me, like, because I really felt like I had to choose. And sometimes you do, but initially, like, I really felt like I was giving up, like with our business, that I would have to give up my baby in order to do what I wanted. And I think that was just, it was just this, oh, no, it's okay. I can still do this. So greener pastures, that's probably the one that I love listening to the most. Yeah, just, really take notice of where you are. And, we can always be looking over the fence, and we're conditioned to do that. The grass is greener and all of that, but it's like, look where you are now. And, and then from there you actually grow. You become more. Don't discount where you are, because that's sort of, it's valuable. I mean, obviously, if you're doing something you don't particularly like and you have something greater and you want to make that shift, then fine. But for me, it was a huge relief. And now that I had that, now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I'm ready to kind of move on, if that's what it, and go further with my goal, my personal goals.
That's so beautiful. Kelly, I want to come back to you, because I'm pretty sure you might have been the first person to ever sign up and study lead the field with me. It's either you or Chris Bascom. It was like tag teaming in, like, getting back that email first, I think. There was no hesitation on Kelly's part moving into lead the field. Why did you do that? What made you want to move? Like, what was your desire to move into this program?
I guess I'd hoped that it would be a natural progression to TIR, even though there is really no progressing from it. It's a work in progress. But I am a kind of a FOMO personality. I have a fear of missing out, and I was like, right, I'm in, let's do it. So, and making that decision and being willing to get back into that study habit as well. So, and I was so glad that I did it, because as Sarah was saying, it is a natural progression from TIR, and TIR really does provide those foundations. And I wouldn't say that Lead the Field is a summary of TIR, but it really does take you to another level. And I would have to say that 90% of my achievements in the last 2 years have come about through studying Lead the Field. So it really gave me the kick that I needed, and I was more aware of what I was listening to and going, we mentioned that in TR. So my favourite 3 lessons are 10, 11, 12. So I, and probably maybe lesson 11 is really great, because it really focuses on your day-to-day activities, like what are you doing today and what are you doing to focus on your goals and get you closer to it. And I had to listen to that a few times over, because if it meant just getting the house clean, then that is moving you, and that's getting you closer to your goals, because you feel better, you feel more organised, you feel you're coming from a place of, let's get this started. But then it doesn't actually matter if it's not. So, because that can be a point of procrastination as well. I'll just get this done and then I can start. So you really need to make that definition. And then lesson 12 was how I probably got more into working smarter, not harder, moving more into leverage and today's economy, and how we're going to leverage these MSIs. And so I have an app.
You do have an app. I didn't even know about that. You hadn't sent me that memo, Kelly.
No, I haven't. I've been busy working on it.
Right. I got another question here. I'm going to sort of, I went into a little bit with Sarah as well, and you probably touched on it, but maybe you could sort of summarize it. I think, Sarah, you explain it really well. Like TIR is like the foundation, and then there's all these other parts to the house. There's the walls and the doors and the lounge suite, and there's so much depth to, building this new model and space we have to fill out in that process. And I would agree with you that I think Lead the Field helps you do that. So Kelly, for you, how did it really help you grow? Was it just that it had you a perception? Was it just that it had you start to look at what you were doing from a different point of view? Or, how did you really feel that it enabled you to go to that next level?
I think because I'd already started thinking differently, it brought those foundations to a course. So I'm with Sarah, it is kind of hard to explain. You just get in and you make a decision easier. That's what I did. So I'm open to any type of opportunities. So I'll go and, if something pops up, I'll go and get the books on it. I'll go and, if it's another business, if it's another opportunity, I'll grab it, I'll look through it and go, yeah, actually I'll put that aside and I'll look even further into it. And then I've been making a better decision, educated decision on how that's actually going to work in our business, one in our family dynamic, and to the greater good, so our greater goals. So there are things that I look at personally, there are things that as in individually, there are things that I look at from a business perspective, and from a partnership thing, if I think that it's something that my husband and I definitely can't handle and I probably need him more involved, then a lot weighs into that. So I definitely feel that I have more confidence to make bigger decisions, I suppose, and I didn't have that at all probably before, even before TIR, but even after TIR, it took a little bit to get that confidence going and really have it instilled. And that's a work in progress as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said there. I've written it down, making decisions and looking at it from a business point of view, the family dynamics, and for the greater good. That's gold, Kelly. I love that. It's really good. And I know, look at you. And also I love what you said about making decisions easier, because I think I would agree with that in terms of Lead the Field and self-image and the way that it just expands how you see yourself and what you can accomplish and what you can do. And there's so many practical tools in there of questions to ask yourself that you do find you can make decisions so much faster. I mean, decision making, that's we could dedicate an entire 6 months, I think, to the process of decision making. So few people really get it, the significance of when you do that, you actually are transforming yourself into a whole new dimension. Amazing. Thank you, Kelly. Rachel, what about you? So I remember when you enrolled in Lead the Field, you got on a webinar. I was doing one over in Toronto, and I'm sure that was when you enrolled. You got on a webinar that I did on Lead the Field. What was your motivation for continuing your study and moving into Lead the Field?
What I think, because after doing so many Bob videos with TIR, it was just like I had digested as much Bob in that format that I could handle, and I absolutely loved TIR, but I needed a break, but I wanted to continue studying. So it was another way of having the content delivered in a different way that is just telling me in a different way some of the similar concepts, but I found it very refreshing, and it actually took me a little bit to just get into the flow, but I listen to it. It's my favorite thing to listen to, because I find the stories that Bob shares in Lead the Field help me to visualize things a lot more, and yeah, he just shares a lot more little stories there that I just really connect with. And I just find it's the perfect flow on for when you've done Bob for a year and you want to keep studying, but you don't want to listen to the same videos again for another couple of weeks. So it's perfect. You've got to keep studying.
Tell us more about that. I want you to, as a student of this material, why do you have to keep studying?
Well, when you stop studying, and I've seen this happen myself, if I fall off the wagon, which I have, I start seeing things shift, either income-wise or just in our own mindset and communication and the thoughts that are entering my mind. I've just noticed that I'm not studying Bob. Okay, it's just I know that that's what's happening. I'm not focusing on what I want, and if you don't keep exercising that muscle, it very quickly turns the thoughts or the self-doubt or other things start popping in again, because it's taken me a long time for these paradigms and habits to form. So just a couple of years is not really enough time I think I want to be a student of this forever. There is just no question that I want to keep growing and take it as far as I can, because you only live once. You want to see how far you can take this stuff, and there is so much depth to it. And I'm studying another couple of Bob things as well, and I find that it's gold. Whatever I'm studying, it just helps. Every piece is really important. So
yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I'll just talk a little bit about now is the program itself, in terms of how it works, and if any of you have you want to pipe in at any stage and explain the difference or the similarities, because this is a question that I always get, is how is it different? So if that question hasn't been answered for you already through sharing some of these stories, in terms of the actual technical delivery of it, you study it, I feel, and ladies, contribute to this, I feel it's a very different way of studying than TIR. TIR is very much, you study less. It's really building that foundation for studying, the discipline, and really getting you to learn how to create the paradigm shift and how all the pieces fit together. Whereas I think Lead the Field is a more of a fluid kind of process. You are studying a lesson over 10 days, and there's sort of 3 parts to the lesson. There's the short intro video where Bob's talking about his experience of the lesson and how he applied that to his cleaning business really all those years ago, because Lead the Field was the program that he was studying when he built his multi-million-dollar cleaning business. And so you've got all that wisdom and insight from the video with him. Then you have the lesson content, which is an audio lesson where he's not only it's not only Earl's material, but it's Bob's blended on top with all of those stories, and do this activity and think about this question, and it's kind of blended there. And then you have Sandy coming in halfway through the 10-day block talking about her experience of studying the program and being mentored by Bob, and how she's used the concepts in her career and in her role with PGI. So I feel like it's much more of a kind of you study it in a different way, and it's less about do this every single day and write this worksheet and write out this, to you blend all the different parts of it to get to a certain outcome at every lesson. How would you describe the way it's delivered? Any different to that? How do you feel about it? Anyone want to contribute to that?
I definitely think, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like TIR develops some of the mental muscles and the study process and the way of, having your paradigm shifts, and brings awareness around, paradigms and the terror barrier and all of that. And then Lead the Field is almost like you've got all the ingredients, and then Lead the Field comes and enables you to use all of them to create a bigger, more expanded version of you and your picture. And I just love how Bob does he reads, like, he does the Earl Nightingale, he reads that out, but then he adds his bits in there, and it is invaluable. And that is one of the best parts of it. And every time you listen to it, like, with TIR, you hear something different. And also seeing Sandy's growth from TIR to Lead the Field. Just her self-image, and even Bob's, and and it just, I watch it and I go, wow. You can see it. And I mean, obviously they've got better lighting and video stuff and all of that, but even just the way she confidently talks about it.
That's so true. Yeah, absolutely. Rachel, what about you? How would you describe the difference in terms of the study and how you actually move through the program?
What I like about it is that you see Bob, you've got a visual, then you can listen to it, and then Sandy comes in halfway, just when you may be losing track, or it kind of is like this little bit of gold again to keep you going. And that's what I like about it. It's not just one video that you listen to for 2 weeks. It's actually little pieces that keep you motivated through that 10 days, so that it's broken up perfectly. So right in the middle, you're going to get another nugget of gold that you haven't seen that's halfway during that process. So I really like how they've done that.
That's great. Kelly, what about you?
Yeah, I would totally agree with what everyone said, and I would find that I'd be really waiting in anticipation to get Sandy's little nugget of gold, because I just love watching Sandy. I love listening to her speak. She is just really inspirational. So that was one of my things, and I liked the 10 days because you had to stay on track, otherwise you lost track. So that kind of was a little bit of accountability for me, I had to keep going, otherwise it's not going to be a 2-week space where Monday's my new thing, so I'll just skip forward to go on to my next lesson on a Monday, or every second Monday. You had to keep track. So I liked that. So and Bob's stories, I can't remember who said that, but his stories were they were different. They were it was like Granddad telling a story. It was sharing his wisdom. It was I really, really enjoyed that. So that was good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think the whole, it just, for me, I have always said that it really changed my perception of what I was really capable of. And I love the way you phrased it, Sarah. It enables you to create an expanded version of yourself. I love that the practical advice around business and entrepreneurship, questions to think about and ways to improve what you're doing. One of the other things that I really like about it is how some of the universal laws are really, really brought to the surface. I think with Thinking into Results, it's all in there, but it's buried, which is great because it means anyone can take and work with that material. And in Lead the Field, they're probably brought to the surface a lot more, and you're really understanding, in particular, I think law of cause and effect is just all the way throughout Lead the Field. And when you really understand that law and you can work in harmony with it, the results just change so quickly. And obviously self-image that we've touched on. So So that's really good. So in terms of how the program essentially works, so when you enroll in the new Lead the Field coaching, Nicole will put the link, you enroll yourself in the program, Nicole will put the link in the chat box now for you. Essentially, you are paced through it. So it's a 4-month program, so 12 lessons, 10 days to a lesson, and you move through the program that way sequentially. We have a Facebook group as well, so a separate Facebook group just for new Lead the Field clients, and we'll be kicking off our fortnightly study calls again from next week. So this is where we actually get on a call together. It's not necessarily me facilitating the lesson with you like I do with Thinking into Results. You've got to understand that everyone that's in Lead the Field are moving to that next level of awareness. Serious students studying, really committed to, you know, growing and getting better results, and it's a different kind of vibration. And so our study calls are more dialogue or masterminding in terms of, you know, how have you used this lesson, what changes have you made, and it's kind of this group. It's nearly a mastermind more than me actually teaching, but then you have the opportunity to ask questions as well throughout that. So I'd really encourage you to make a decision today and join us in the program. You're going to meet some phenomenal people that you won't have come in contact with or had anything to do with yet in Thinking into Results. So, and really value yourself enough to invest in you again in 2019. You'll actually find the fee for Lead the Field is actually less than what you would have paid to do Thinking into Results with me. I really think price has got nothing to do with it. Something could be worth 100,000 and it's not valuable to you, and something could be 3,000 and it's extremely valuable to you. So it's $2,995 US. So with the conversion, you're probably looking at about 3,800 Australian or 800 a month in installments. And you can just do a very simple 4-month payment plan there to get started. So Nicole has put that in the chat box. Go and get yourself enrolled straight away and get into this and join us in the new Lead the Field coaching program. You'll absolutely love it. But we're not finished with you yet. But wait, there's more. No, that's not actually true. I want to talk about attitude and the role attitude has played in your success, ladies, because I think attitude was a concept that, well, two things that I never really understood: the significance of making a decision. You know, I was always pretty self-driven and I'd make things happen anyway. And I guess I was making decisions despite circumstance. But I was taking very positive action, but I was still thinking, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't know enough, or this won't work for me. What I want to know about, what I want to discuss, because I think it's so significant. Every time that I have up-leveled my results, I've had to check my attitude and I've had to make committed decisions that were often not in harmony with my present circumstances. But that was the only way I've been able to grow. So what's that been like for you? Attitude and decision. Sarah Bascom?
Well, the whole concept that you learn around attitude, you know, that it's the composite of your thoughts, feelings and actions, was a completely, you know, like they all talk about attitude. You've got to have a good attitude to, you know, do better at school. You've got to have a good attitude. But to actually really understand how it's broken down and what it's made up of is definitely, a big part of it. And I think when you make a decision on something, then you really have to check in on your thoughts, feelings and actions and how they come out. And I think it, in a sense, it kind of, you just automatically moved into that next level, because the decision comes first. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I need to actually check in on my attitude in order for me to follow through with that and actually create what I want based from that decision I've made. So did that answer the question?
I think you've linked it perfectly, that you make the decision and then you check your attitude. Now, how am I going to think? How am I going to feel? And what am I going to do? To really then make that committed decision and act on it. And I think I said this to you, Sarah, when you were deciding whether or not to attend Power Up. I said, would the person you want to be there? Mm-hmm. And you were just like, what happened? Describe that. You share that story, because I think that's exactly what you have to do in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And those words, your voice, ring through my ear a lot. And it's almost like as soon as you sent this invitation out to be on the panel, like in the past, I would have, thought about it. And, all of the whole paradigm was totally there. And I was just like, the person would, bang, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the fastest, and just even talking about it now, when you go through these programs and it says that you learn how to make decisions quickly, that I actually just think I've realised what that actually feels like, because that would have had that. And we're going to power up. Yeah, I procrastinated a little bit. It took me a few days, and you had the videos coming out and you were just there, and that was, that got me over. But it was, around this was sort of like, I have to. In order for me to reach the level that I want and my next level, I would definitely be here sharing what I love about this program. And it's just incredible. Like, it totally needs to be part of everybody's life. It's a way of life. It's not something you just do this month or this week. It becomes part of how you think and the way you do have the choice to create your life. But without it, you're just flying blind, and you're just living life by chance, whereas we don't have to. And there's so many reminders every day in tragedies and whatnot, and that we don't get a second chance. Like, we never know how long our time is, and that it is valuable. So
yeah, and to start today, right? We think, well, I'll just wait. I'll wait a little bit longer. I'll wait another month or another 2 months, when you just got to do it.
If that desire is even slightly there, that is spirit trying to express itself, and you've got to honour it. You can't, that paradigm's going to come in, and, the frenemy, I call it, and she'll go, or he'll go, oh yeah, but this is just another one of those programs. Oh, you don't really need that. You can just focus on TIR. You have all the information you need. You know what? Kick it in the gutter, as Karen said before, because that is like a weight trying to hold you back. That is the anchor, and you've just got to put the sail up and go, we're going ahead.
Well said. Well said. Rachel Dunn, what is the role, attitude and decision that it's played in your life, in your success today?
Well, attitude is just something I always keep a check on with myself. And I find it just comes up everywhere. It's about who you're being. And decision, I think with Lead the Field, I pretty much made that decision pretty quickly. And same with Power Up. It was like, I just had to write down there, because I forgot my pen, my notes, who would the person that you want to be in the room, because it's so true. And what I also love about this material, and it's probably not quite the question, but what I love about this material is that, because I'm really good at studying, and I'm a really good student, which will mean that I'm also a good leader, but I also find that I'm not studying it 100%. So if I know the results that we've got so far. So if I keep studying and I give this 100%, imagine what I could actually do if I actually did it 100%. And I love that too. So I'm always putting that into the equation, which just reminded me. And that's what I love about being on here. Even I keep typing up little things that I'm even getting from this particular session right now, because there's always, it's great to just be in the vibration, and you want to keep lifting it to the next level and put yourself around people that have big goals, because then you stretch yourself in the way that you think, and it's very important.
Yeah, I was talking to a girl yesterday, and she said, I'm just so grateful that I'm around people who actually are thinking about earning $100,000 or $200,000 a month, and that's exactly right. Not necessarily that it's all financial, but just big thinkers. And it's Lead the Field for a reason. If you've got a big goal, or you just want to build that greater version of yourself, then that's really what it's about. So, Kelly, what about you? What role has decision and attitude played in your life so far?
It's played a huge part, especially the definition of attitude for a start that was a big light bulb moment. To have that actually explained, because you go through all your childhood, improve your attitude, you've got to change your attitude, you'll never get anywhere with that attitude, blah, blah, blah. It was never explained what attitude was. Somehow we had to kind of figure it out. Okay, so what I was doing then wasn't a good attitude, but we still had to fumble our way through it. And still at, 38, I was still fumbling my way through attitude. So to have that there, not only visually, but in text, it created a really good foundation for my kids. And so I would say to them, what does attitude mean to you? And they just, we just get told it all the time. So then we went through it. And then, so that's a very common place for us to use attitude and the meaning. It's in my kitchen. We've got it on the whiteboard. We have it everywhere. So that was actually TIR and Lead the Field is something that I have with my kids all the time. Like my son's going to America in January. That was never on his radar. But he said, you know what, Mum, I think because I'm uncomfortable with it, I think I should do it. I was like, what? Where did that come from? So he's already thinking that way. He's about to turn 16, so I get goosebumps all the time. So that to me was him checking his attitude and his decision making and thinking about, I don't feel comfortable with it, but I'm going to make the decision to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So when I check my decision and go through attitude, which is kind of it's just a light bulb moment now, a bit of a reflex, it makes me more committed, because you can go and make a decision to do something or to look into something or recognize an opportunity, but it checks your commitment. Then if you're okay with your attitude and you're good with your attitude, then I feel like I'm more committed, and then that increases the action process, I guess you could say. So it makes it more purposeful. So that whole process, I've got goosebumps now, because that's so it's such a big part of even my day-to-day and what's got me to making some really big decisions. And the big decisions that were in TIR are nothing compared to the decisions that we're making now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're in harmony with them because of the growth that you've experienced. So, I was messaging Gina at Bob's PA the other day and talking about how the paradigm is showing up for me. And she said, that paradigm is insidious, but you're stronger than it. And the more you keep studying this material and the more you keep growing, you just become so much more effective and stronger. You're the one in control rather than the paradigm controlling you. I want to touch on one more question before we wrap up. We are at the time boundary, but I know that it might be a question for some people, some of you on the call here today. Maybe you haven't finished thinking into results, or you feel like you need to go through it again because you didn't get everything out of it. I'm going to say two things to that there will always be more that you can get out of this material. You'll never stop. And feedback that I've had from people like Lisa Taylor, Chris Bascom, that when they actually got in to lead the field, it actually helped them understand more of thinking into results. So that's not going to be the case for everyone necessarily, but that was feedback that they gave to me. So you might actually find that by studying the new Lead the Field and really making this investment today and getting involved in this, that the penny drops in such a way for you that you might have been thinking, well, I've just got to keep, chugging along, doing what I'm doing, that actually when you get into this and you start to see yourself and look at some of these concepts from a different perception, from a different point of view, as Bob tells these stories, that so many of those dots are going to connect for you. So you most certainly don't need to have finished thinking into results to start Lead the Field. And if you feel like, well, I need to go through thinking into results again before I start Lead the Field, that's the paradigm. Do the illogical. I would embody Sandy Gallagher in that moment and most certainly do the illogical. So I think logic is not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to help you create the breakthrough. So, we'd really love you to join us. Like I say, next week we're kicking off our first study call for 2019. We're going right back to the beginning. We're starting a next 4-month cycle. So now's the time to get involved. You'll see these ladies, our leaders in the community, on those study calls. These are, this is the vibration, this is the energy that you're in when you're studying Lead the Field. We are talking about leading your field and bringing out the best that you've got on a day-to-day basis. So make a decision and join us today in doing that. Rachel, Sarah, Kelly, thank you so much for generously contributing to today's discussion. You've certainly got the law of cause and effect working in your favour there, gifting your time to the community today to share your experiences. I really do consider you leaders in our community, and I'm sure that we're going to be hearing a lot more from you over the next 12 months or so. So thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank
Karen,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa has private messaged me and she said she couldn't comment, but she wanted to add that I love Lead the Field, greener pastures, my favourite lesson.
Oh, there you go.
Someone has said, if the other pasture looks greener, maybe it's because it's getting better care. And, honestly, going into Lead the Field, I've done other programs through the Proctor Gallagher Institute that have Karen as your leader and mentor, and to come into Lead the Field and getting on those calls, it is like a powered up version of Mastermind, and you get so much more of Karen than you've ever seen in the Thinking into Results. It's just a whole nother level. And I came off of that last call and I was just like, wow. There was so much that came out of that. And I know it was only the three of us, Peter, yourself and myself, but it was like,
it was full on. I remember
that was an incredible session. She and Peter is just, I've only that's the only time I've sort of been on a call with her and had that kind of level of interaction, but it is very valuable. And, take better care of you, like the greener pastures comment that Lisa shared, because, that's it.
That's it. Sarah's just wrapped up the call for us. Well, thank you, ladies, and I look forward to having you on our study call next week. So
you all on there. Do it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do it.
Everyone here into Lead the Field. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.